I want to start, we're going to talk about past customer business today. First thing I want to start with, though, is I want to start by just sharing an analogy. So ultimately, we want to set ourselves up to get consistent repeat business from our customers. And, I want you to imagine that you're a gardener and that you're planting seeds that eventually you'll get paid for each individual plant that you grow from those seeds that you're planting. So the first time, let's say you put out 100 seeds in the ground, and if you're lucky, you'll get 100 plants, but most odds aren't quite that good. So maybe you get 80 plants. It's kind of like doing 100 demos and you get 80 new clients, right? And then let's imagine that once those plants mature and it's time to plant seeds again, how cool would it be if the 80 plants that you have, that you've been nurturing and growing throughout the season, actually drop their own seeds and you didn't have to plant all brand new plants again, right? Even if their yield for that, planting season from their own seeds, even if that yield is lower than, a new seed planted, let's say you got 80% yield the first time. So maybe this time those seeds give you 50% yield. So you grow half of them into new plants. So you get 40 brand new plants that essentially grew from themselves, all because you just watered and took great care of the original seeds that you planted that you got plants from, right? Those plants are now creating their own additional plants down the road. So that's 40 plants that you'll be paid for the next time that you have all your plants ready to go that essentially grew from themselves. You just had to water them consistently and make sure that they have sunlight on a regular basis. Now, if you also, in addition to those 40 plants, planted another 100 plants, right? At the end, you got 80 more plants. Now you have a total of 120 plants. So with the same yields and the same effort, harvest after harvest after harvest, you would end up with 140 plants and then, and then more and more and more plants. So if you wanted to, you could put in the same effort season after season after season and actually get bigger results at the end of every season, right? And the main reason that this happens is because you are taking the time to water and nurture and take care of those plants. So if you really wanted to increase your income in this whole planting metaphor, or gardening metaphor that we're using today, you could increase your efforts by planting more, plant more than 100 plants, or even planting more plants even faster. But when you think about it, there's really only two things that you can do to increase your numbers in this imaginary garden that we're growing. You could plant more than 100 plants yourself, or you could also increase your effectiveness somehow so that your percentage, your yields actually go up, like, adding fertilizer or Miracle-Gro to the equation. Or, some people believe that if you just speak to the plants, they will grow better and be healthier and you'll get more plants as a result. So you could also do both, fertilize and, and take good care of the plants to make your yields even better, and also plant more plants than just 100. And you would see drastic exponential growth in your rates just because you're putting in efforts on both sides. So that would increase your yield in both directions. So, when you think about the business itself, this planting or gardening metaphor or example is not unlike your opportunity with repeat sales with your customers. Each year you have the opportunity to not only bring on new clients, but you also have the opportunity to cultivate relationships with your existing clients, with the people who already purchased from you, in order to serve them at a high level, in order to keep them paying attention to you, and then get repeat sales in addition to creating new customers. And each year it grows bigger and bigger and bigger when you focus on doing both, nurturing your relationships with your past clients to create repeat sales with them, and also bringing in new customers into that funnel or into that book of business, so that you can begin nurturing and your relationships with them. So most high-level CSPs are doing some form of marketing to their past clients, some form of consistent communication that keeps their clients engaged, that builds loyalty from their clients, and that leads to eventually repeat sales. The fastest way to get to huge, campaign or annual sales numbers is to do both of these things at the same time, to set yourself up for repeat customer sales while also building new customers into your book of business. I like to ask the question of you today, how much would you like to sell to your past customers in a year? Long term, when you think like 3, 5, 10 years down the line, and you think about when you have 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 past customers, new customers that you've brought into your book of business, how much would be an exciting number for you to just go back and sell to those people even after you've already sold to them once? I remember sitting at year-end banquet one time, and I heard Bruce Goodman, president of Vector West, share, that the average Cutco customer buys 1.1 times. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that's crazy, because at the time my average order was like $180. And, I was like, my average customer that I do a demo for, though, they want more than just what they buy. Like, sometimes people buy a homemaker or a galley or something like that. But, most people want like the full Cutco kitchen. They want the flatware. They want the cookware. They want the accessories. They want to have the ultimate. It's just, maybe they choose not to get it all at once because they can't afford it, or it just doesn't make sense, or the timing's not right, or whatever reason, right? So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, if the average customer only buys 1.1 times, then that means that the average customer on my $180 average order is only buying like $200 or $225 out of the, thousands of dollars that they actually are interested in buying. I mean, it was in that moment that I made a decision that that's not going to be me. I want my customers to buy way more frequently than 1.1 times, because most of my customers don't buy everything they want all at once. And so I bet if I stay in touch with them, if I create a systemized approach to servicing them and making sure that over the next 10 or 20 or more years, they're taken care of, they'll stay loyal to me. And eventually I can help many of those people buy way more than just what they initially start with. And I'm really glad I had that thought, because here we are almost 20 years later, and I want to show you some really cool numbers from my personal past customers over the past 10 years, and how those numbers have increased drastically using the strategies and principles that I'll be sharing with you today. So check this out. I've won 3 silver cups. I don't say that to brag to you or to impress you. It's just to impress upon you the power of this that we're going to talk about today. So I want to show you really quickly, when I was at the very basic level with past customers, which means that, I basically would just reach out to them and offer to go service them. And then I would send them a newsletter once or twice a year in the mail. You can see, in 2002, 3, 4, 5, you can see how my numbers consistently grew. It went from 2,000 because I just sent a letter that year to 8,000, and then double that, and then and then a 35% increase on top of that in just 3 years, from 2,000 to 10x in just over the course of just 4 years, because I just got really committed to servicing my customers, calling them every year, checking in, seeing how their Cutco's doing, and then offering to go out and service their products. Now, that's not necessarily a sustainable model when you have thousands of clients, but it is a great way to get started with your customers in a very basic sense. Then you can see the numbers actually consistently grew over the next 3 years to 3x 20,000, where I went from 20,000 to 60,000. And that's actually where, over the course of a few years, I started using some web-based tools that helped me become more systemized and more efficient with communicating with my customers, which then led to the ability for me to have more time to service people and follow up with people and be more intentional and strategic about that. And so as a result, what happened is you'll see the sales climb from 20,000 to 40,000 to 60,000 to $105,000. This is just sales in a year to people who had already bought Cutco from me once or twice before. And then you'll see in the coming years, it really grew from there. It went to 150,000, 175, 210,000. And then over the past few years, it's really grown quite a bit just by introducing certain things like strategic sale promotions multiple times a year with strategic follow-up approaches following that. And you'll see, $300,000. That's where I got to really an advanced level back in 2013, where I was doing more consistent marketing with a more value-based approach and more value-added communications to my clients. And over the past 3 years or 4 or 5 years here, we've consistently grown those results in a way to where last year I did almost $500,000 in repeat sales with my existing customers, not including the additional like almost 60,000 I sold just on referral business from my repeat customers, because I added things like consistent texting and other forms of marketing. I added virtual service calls and more service events for my clients and saw the numbers grow. So what I want to share with you today is really just, my highest hope really is that regardless of what level you're at with your past customer systems and your past customer sales, that you can take something away today that can help you level up your results. That's ultimately the goal. Every client that you add to your business is an opportunity to build a strong relationship that could lead to years and years of loyalty and repeat sales from those customers. And so, it really just takes, a systemized and strategic approach. And I'm going to walk through with you how you can set yourself up for that. But it's also not something that will impact just your customers, but also their family, their friends, and their colleagues. And I'm going to share with you the simple things that I've done to stay organized, to communicate effectively, and set myself up to sell almost $500,000 every year to just my existing clients. Real quick though, so here's some other fun numbers. This is really like, the benefit of staying in touch with your clients. You'll see I've had over 320 customers who placed 10 orders or more with me. Almost 1,500 clients who've placed 5 orders or more with me. The most orders I've had placed by one customer, my top 3, one client 50 orders, another client 47 orders, and another client 31 orders. So, a lot of people, they kind of get of the mindset like, oh my gosh, like, will people actually be mad at me if I follow up with them? The answer is no. Your clients will be excited to hear from you, mainly because you sold them a world-class product that lasts forever, that they use every single day. And when you become the salesperson who stays in touch with them and actually follows up with them, you become the person who's doing what no one else in their life, except for maybe 1 or 2 people, like their financial planner, maybe their insurance agent if they use a good quality one, and maybe their banker. Like, you get on the level of those people in their life, and this is what happens. I've got almost 1,000 clients who've spent over $2,000 with me. I have 32 clients who've spent over $10,000 with me. And my number one customer, guys, has spent almost $90,000 with me. In fact, I just set a meeting with her in a few weeks. And during the national push period that we'll be announcing tomorrow, it's really exciting because I'm going to go see her, and I guarantee you she's going to break through the $95,000 lifetime sales number for me. And very soon, in the next couple of years, she'll be over $100,000 bought just by one single customer. So how do you make this happen? That's what I want to share today. We're going to walk through 3 keys to past customer sales, setting yourself up for success with this. Number 1 is just knowledge. You can't have too much information about your clients. You may not know how you're going to use that information now, but just trust that the more information you have about your clients, the more information you keep about your clients, kind of like what Ben talked about, how it really impacts rapport building when you ask those deeper level questions. Well, what's even better is when you take notes on that information and you store it and you use it in the future. It can be extremely useful to you later down the road. You want to have knowledge about your customers so that you can show them that you remember things about them. In future conversations, this earns tremendous amounts of loyalty and trust from your clients. Something that you talked about months or even years ago that you bring up the next time that you connect, it shows that you listen. It shows that you pay attention and that you care enough to remember their clients. Let me ask you this. If I told you, I brought up multiple things that you and I talked about 3 years ago, the last time we got together, or the last time we had a conversation, would you feel more special or less special about, like to me? You would definitely feel much more special because I just made it a priority to remember those things, and not only remember them, but also talk about them again. So they know you're busy. They know that they're not your only client. So it also makes them feel special to know that you care enough about them to not only remember, but to also talk about it again. And there's also value in not having the same conversation with your clients over and over and over every time that you get together. So one of the things that I always make sure I take notes on with my clients is what their interests are, but also more importantly, what they've told me that for sure they're never going to be interested in. Because if they tell me, hey, Josh, I already have a whole set of Salad Master cookware. I love it. It's amazing. If I ever buy more, I'll buy the Cutco since it's made by the same company that makes yours and it's a lot less expensive. But in reality, I'm only getting older. I don't see myself doing that. And then if I come in 3 years later and I try to sell them cookware again after they've been very clear with me, I've literally had customers say to me, Josh, you've talked to me about this like 4 times. Why don't you remember we've already talked about this? I'm like, I'm so sorry. That's a note I need to do a better job taking, right? So instead of talking about the same things over and over again, and like it's a starting from the same place every single time. So how long have you lived here? What do you do for a living? La, da, 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 da. When you take notes on those things, you remember those things and you bring them up the next time, well, then the next time that you get together, you can build on those past conversations, which is powerful in relationship building. It's the difference between me asking you to tell me your Cutco story every time we see each other and me remembering that the next time, and this time learning about your family. And then the next time we get together, remembering both of those things and getting to learn now about your biggest challenges that you're facing, and so on every time we get together. We build a relationship. Plus, you feel that we're not just, going through the motions of chatting today, small talk, but that I'm actually paying attention, I actually care. So knowledge about your customers. Take great notes. Save their wish lists. Remember the things that they're interested in, both when it comes to Cutco, but also their hobbies and the things that they do for fun. Get their birthdays, get their anniversaries, get kids' names, get their pets' names, heck, get their kids' ages. I can tell you many of my clients who, when I met them 20 years ago, their kids were like 6 in an elementary school. And now their kids, I know, are at the age where they're getting married, they're buying homes, they're graduating college, they're moving on up in life. And I'm able to bring those things up with my clients, which makes it much easier to talk about the opportunity they have to buy gifts for their kids, because I'm taking good notes and I remember where their kids are in those points of their lives. And so it really helps a lot. And then, of course, just have fun. If your customers have fun things that you want to remember, like places they've traveled or places they're traveling to in the future, or dreams that they have, or big goals that they're working on, or what they do in their business, have fun, write those things down, and then have fun talking about your clients with those things in the future. Another great key to past customer sales. This is a must-have. You have to get this in place in your business. Many people say to me, but Josh, I'm not organized. But Josh, I suck at systems. Cool. That's cool that you're there now, but it's not a good excuse to stay that way long term. You have to get better at getting organized, and you have to get better at building systems for yourself if you want to build a sustainable long-term business. If you said to me 20 years ago, Josh, if you build a great system and you stay super organized with your clients, and 20 years from now, you're going to be making $250,000 a year selling knives, I would have told you were crazy. But you sure as hell better bet I would have been like, if that's a guarantee, I'm building those systems and I'm getting organized. Tell me what to do and I will do it, coach. Put me in the game. Let's go, right? Because heck yeah, who doesn't want to be at that level? Well, guys, I went to jail 6 times before I started selling Cutco. I was a hippie. Like, I was not the most polished guy around. I was not the sharpest knife in the drawer or the, best quality garden tool in the shed. Okay. I was the rusty junk that people threw in the corner that they just didn't want to pay attention to anymore because they were constantly frustrated by it. That was me when I started with Cutco. But I've become who I am today through the process of learning and implementing what I've learned from other greats in the business and becoming really great at those things over time. And so if I can get to where I am today, then you guys that are here today watching, you can accomplish anything you want in your life. I wish someone would have taught me these things 20 years ago. I had to learn these things the hard way, because if I'd learned them 20 years ago, I would have done a lot of things differently from the very beginning of my career. And I bet I'd be selling, $1 million a year to past customers, not just $500,000 a year. So with that said, systems, right? You want to keep things organized, especially as you move from tens to hundreds and then to thousands of clients. It's super key to build systems now that when you get to those scaled up levels, help you be more organized down the road. You want to be able to easily access all of your customer info, their contact info, their address, all the notes you have, all of their order information, all of those things. And you want to be able to do it at the click of a button and have an easy and systemized way to not only access client info, but also segment client info, target clients, and communicate with clients individually or as groups, while still maintaining a personal feel to the communication, to personal feel for them, where they feel like you're speaking directly to them. This is where a web-based CRM will be a game changer. And actually, the national team asked me to make sure that I let you know about the product vastactioncrm.com, so that if you're ready to invest in a CRM, you have the ability to do that, because full disclosure, I'm a partial owner in Vast Action, and this is a CRM that we built for my business that was working so good for me that now hundreds of CSPs and FSMs and reps and managers across the nation use to manage their customer bases, because people just came to me and said, hey, I want to use the same system you're using. How does that work? And you'll see I've got the website right here on the screen. If you're not ready to invest, that's okay. Use an Excel spreadsheet, kind of like Brett was talking about earlier with how he tracks his stats. We could use the same thing to track your customers. But at some point, you're going to eventually, usually when you're around a couple hundred clients, you're going to want to invest in a web-based system that gives you a lot more capability and it's easier to navigate. Heck, I remember Mike Dowd recently, switched from an Excel spreadsheet to the CRM, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is like incredible. Like, it's so much easier to use and so much easier to find information. It just makes a huge difference. So other things that you want to do to systemize, set up a web-based calendar. I use Google Calendar, and I sync it with my phone. I sync it with my online scheduling app. I sync it with all sorts of different things. And I love it because everything goes in the calendar. And the more successful you become as an entrepreneur, the more important it's going to be to have a calendar that you can easily change, edit, move things around on. And paper calendars just don't give you those capabilities. So you'll want to upgrade or graduate at some point in the near future. Also keep a running to-do list. My wife, Amy, she's a to-do list master. She uses a cool app that just, there's tons of apps out there. Just go to the app store on your phone, type in to-do list app. You'll find plenty of options. All of them are great. There's also a bunch of free ones online, but keep a running to-do list and check things off of it. Make sure you do that. And then build customer service templates. These would be templates that help you with things like, when customers reach out with the same questions over and over again, like different customers reach out with the same question. Well, instead of typing that up every single time, just create a list of templates, like create a document. Or in our CRM, we actually build emails, and we can store those emails in a library and then bring those emails up at the click of a button using a quick search function in the CRM. And what's really great about it is that if somebody breaks the tip and they're like, what do I do? Well, I know the answer is that they need to send it to the factory. And I know that if I tell them that, they're going to ask for instructions. So I just have a template set up where I send them the factory instructions. And all I have to do is log in, search their name, boom, there they are, click a button, send them this email, search the template, pull that template up. It automatically inputs their name. It automatically inputs my signature. And all I have to do is schedule it for the right time and date that I want it to go out. And boom, within a matter of 60 seconds, I've got that customer serviced at a high level and taken care of with exactly the information that they needed in a very timely manner. That's the kind of thing that keeps people paying attention to you and also earns long-term loyalty from your clients. So I highly recommend check out vastactioncrm.com. If you have questions, you can also email our team or text our team, and I'll give you the information on how to do that. But here's the data you want to track on your customers. This is the data you need for sure. You always want to have their name, their email, their phone number, and their address. Even if you can't get their address, like when I'm at shows signing up leads or when I get referrals, I will reach out immediately and be like, hey, I don't need your address, but I at least need your zip code. Why do you need a zip code? Well, because in my CRM, I can actually pull up, and run a query to say, I want to know all the customers who are within 10 miles or all the leads or both who are within 10 miles of this zip code that I know I'm going to be in working next week, because I want to call just those people and see how many more appointments I can get booked so that I can book up my full day. And in a matter of clicks, a matter of seconds, boom, there's all the information. It's like, woo, this is awesome. And the zip code is what gives me the opportunity to do that. Here's the data that you want to have on your customer. And whether this is in a spreadsheet, if it's in a spreadsheet, you want it to be in each of these things, you want to have its own column so that when you upgrade to a web-based CRM, it's easier for you to get all that information in there. Or if you're in a CRM, you want to make sure that whether you're using our CRM or a different CRM or whatever, that you're using one that gives you the ability to capture and track and have all of this information stored. So I want both spouses' names. I want both spouses' emails. I want both spouses' phone numbers. I want their home number. I want their office number. Some of my clients have 8 phone numbers for. I also want to keep track of all of our communications. There's nothing more powerful when I get on the phone with a client and, a year or two later, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember we talked last year. And then a couple of years ago, I came out to your house and I met the kids. And, even 4 years before that, can you believe it's been 4 years since we first met at that home and garden show? Or can you believe it's been 4 years since Sally first referred, me to meet you, and then we got together and did that original demo? That's amazing, isn't it? They're like, 4 years? Are you kidding me? I'm like, no. But like having history communicate, like the history of our communications and notes on that is very, very powerful. On the flip side, if you're a more advanced CSP, guys, how many times have you had a person walk up to the booth and tell you they signed up for service a year or 2 years ago and no one ever called them? I've had it happen, not often, but it happens multiple times a year, right? And they'll be like, yeah, I talked to you. And I'll be like, great, what's your name? And I look at their name and I'm like, oh, hey, Sally, yeah. Actually, I'm looking at your account here that I set up for you the day I met you. And it shows that I actually called you and left you I called you 10 times, left you 5 voicemails. I also sent you 6 text messages and 3 emails over the course of the last, 9 months. And I never heard back from you. And they're like, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I've just been really busy. I just haven't had a chance to get back to you. And I'm like, okay, cool. But you came up and said that I never called you, but I actually did. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, great. Pull out your calendar now. Let's get this on the calendar now so we can check it off the list. So we don't end up back here having the same conversation in a year because you're so busy. How's that sound? Cool. And it's just so much easier to handle those types of things. And I could share with you 100 examples of how history notes actually make a huge difference. You also want to know the last time they ordered. You want to know what they own from Cutco, not just what they bought from you, but also if they bought Cutco before you, what they bought from Cutco before you. I love the CRM because Cutco's actually got it set up where when you place an order and you use our CRM, that order feeds directly into your CRM account. So it automatically puts all your customer information in there, what they bought. It also gives you all of their order history from previous to that order that they got from you if they already own Cutco. It's really cool. I also keep track of what they have on their wish list. I want to know how much they've bought over the lifetime of being a client. Because let's say I want to see all of my clients bought $5,000 from me and I want to run a 5K client appreciation event, or I want to send a gift out to those clients because we just came out with a new knife. And I know if I send them that knife, they spent $5,000. Hey, that's exciting. They'll appreciate that they got a free knife from their knife guy. But then I know many of those people will also come back and buy more of those knives from me, or they'll buy more knives just because I send them stuff. Mike Dowd knows when the pandemic hit last year, he sent out thousands of dollars worth of Cutco that he had in his inventory just as free gifts to his clients to appreciate them during the craziness of the pandemic. And those gifts led to tens of thousands of dollars in sales from those clients when things started opening back up and getting a little bit back to normal. So also, you want to know how you got referred to them, how you got introduced to them, and any other notes that you want to keep on them. The third key to creating past customer sales on a regular basis is communication with your customers. Communication is so important. It is a key, and you want it to be consistent. You want it to be quality. Write those things down. Consistent, quality communication. If you want your customers to consistently buy from you, then you want to be consistently communicating with your customers. I was just having a conversation with one of my coaching and mentoring clients yesterday, and he was telling me how he's like, yeah, I don't really hear from my clients. And I was like, cool. So when's the last time you reached out to him? He's like, well, I reach out to him usually every year when I'm doing my holiday promotion because I'm really close to hitting my goals and I'm running a sale. And so I talk to some of my clients around then. And then I also reach out to all of my clients during SC2 push to schedule service calls to see if they'll buy more stuff to help me with my push goal. I'm like, cool. So the only time you ever reach out to your clients is twice a year when you want to sell them stuff. And he's like, yeah. And then he's like, but I talked to some of my clients and they're like, oh yeah, actually, I didn't even know you were still selling Cutco, or else I would have bought that wedding gift from you instead of that college kid that came over. Or I would have bought, instead of buying it out of the catalog, I would have called you if I'd have known you were still selling. Like, his clients didn't even know that he's still selling Cutco. He's been selling Cutco for 4 years. There's over 300 grand in career sales. I was like, whoa, mind blown, right? So consistent quality communication, it's the most important aspect of this. And the most important part of that is that you do it consistently, because consistency is what creates awareness and attention. And when you do it right, customers will love hearing from you, versus when you do it wrong, customers stop wanting to pay attention to you. So let's talk about the differences there, right? So there's multiple types of communication that we can do. Number one is email. Number two is direct mail. So email, obviously, you know what that is. Direct mail is like a postcard or a catalog or a newsletter that you send to them in their mailbox. By the way, email is really great. It's actually how I do most of my business, email and text. But I get feedback all of the time from clients who are like, I never check my email, I never text, but I love getting your letter every year. I'm like, great, thank you so much. I'm so glad I'm mailing you, right? There's also phone calls to your clients, voice drops for those of you that are at the more advanced levels, and you've got thousands of people and not enough time to make thousands of phone calls. And then, of course, text messaging. And so, all of these things are different channels. And you want to actually use all of these channels when you're communicating with your clients. Some people only send emails to their clients. Some people only snail mail their clients. Some people only ever call. Some people only ever text. Some people, like, there are other people who might do 2. Some people do 3. I do all of these. Why do I do all of these? Because I consistently find that different clients have different preferred forms of communication. Some clients only check their email. Some clients only check their text. Some clients only check their snail mail. Some clients only will respond to you if you pick up the phone and call them. And everybody's different. And here's the thing. Everybody changes over the course of time. So I may have met you 5 years ago and you preferred email, but now, because of the way your lifestyle has changed over the last 5 years, you only ever text, or you only ever call, or you just, now you prefer the catalog. And so there's no way of really knowing. And just because someone is one person at one time doesn't mean they will always be that channel communicator the rest of their lives. And things are always changing and ebbing and flowing and moving back and forth, right? I've had clients where they're like, yeah, I had 80,000 emails in my inbox for 10 years and I never checked them. But then I got it all cleared out. And now I use email every day and I freaking love it because I stay caught up and it doesn't overwhelm me. And I get your emails. I love your recipes. Thanks so much for sending them. I'm like, cool, that's awesome, right? So you never know who it's going to be. Another thing that you want to do is you want to set expectations for your clients. So when you meet with a client and they place an order with you, or they put a big wish list on file for you and ask you to follow up with them at a future date, you want to set expectations with them on how you're going to communicate with them moving forward, right? So there's the types of communications that you want to use and get those in place, but then there's also the expectations you want to create. And I recommend that you use a framework that I've taught on for years called the famous let go. So the famous let go is really simple. It starts at the very beginning, and every time that you talk to the customer from that point forward, when you're all done and wrapping up, setting expectations and building their interest about what comes next, that's the key. So you want to build the right expectation that you'll be touching base with them in the future moving forward. And that when you do touch base, you'll be checking in. You'll be sharing valuable information like recipes or any other type of valuable information. We'll talk about that here in a minute. You want to see how their Cutco's doing. You want to see if they need any service. And you want to answer any questions that they might have pop up in between your communications, in between you staying in touch with them. We call this the famous let go. Be sure that every single client conversation ends on you appreciating them and talking about how you specifically stay in touch with your clients, because that creates your brand. Then you want to instruct them on what to do moving forward if and when they need to engage with you, if they need service, if they want to buy more stuff. So it's like, hey, if you have a friend or family member that you want to recommend to me, if you ever need service on your Cutco, if you have a question, if you want to, if you want to order some more stuff for yourself or for a gift, here's how you do that. And you tell them, email me, text me, go to my website. If you don't have a web portal set up yet and you're qualified to do that, go get a web portal set up. It's a great investment in your business. I tell customers they can smoke signal me because that always gets a laugh, right? But overall, you want to create the expectation that they'll be hearing from you at least a handful of times a year. And it isn't always about sales, because the number one thing that turns people off is when the only time you communicate with them is when you're promoting sales. It's a lot easier on your team as you build up and hire an assistant to make calls for you, for example, when your customers actually expect that an assistant will be calling them. When I first hired an assistant, because I had thousands of clients and I was getting emails and texts every day from clients asking for service, I had to hire an assistant. And it's funny because my clients were only used to hearing from me and not hearing from an assistant. So I had to go back and retrain my clients that, hey, this is my team. This person works with me. And so this is us serving you together. And we've had to rebrand as a team. And that's okay, right? But when you lead out with this stuff and you create these expectations from the get-go, it's not awkward for you, it's not awkward for them. If you want to write a great email, here's a framework that we use. It's very simple. Always open with appreciation. Make some form of a personal connection with them. So let them know what's going on with you or what you're excited about in life and business right now. Explain the purpose of this email or this text message or this phone call. And then have some form of call to action, something that you want them to do in response to this. Maybe it's click this link to go see the specials I'm running right now. Or maybe it's, hey, reply to this email and let me know if you need your knives sharpened. Or hey, you know what? I'd love to get a testimonial from you. Go ahead and reply to this email and let me know, or reply to this text message and let me know your favorite thing about Cutco. It could be anything you want. But always make sure there's a clear call to action so they know what to do when they're done reading the email. And then always end on a smile, right? Make people feel great. Let them know how much you appreciate them at the beginning and also at the end. It definitely makes a difference for you. And then the last thing I'll share in communication before we wrap this thing up is very simple. You want your communication to be consistent, but you don't want your promotions to be the most consistent thing. Instead, you think about this. What are the emails that you get from companies that you never pay attention to? You're probably thinking of many right now. What are the text messages that you get from businesses you've done business with that you never pay attention to? You're probably thinking of many right now. What are the phone calls that you get that you never answer? You never call them back? Car warranties, anybody? Right? So think about this. So the people that your clients will pay attention to, your clients are feeling the same way, by the way, because they're probably bombarded by many more companies than you are, because they're just further on in life than you are. Some of you, I'm 40 now, so I'm getting up in that older category. But the clients that will pay attention to you are the ones where they see that you don't always try to sell them something. So the secret sauce, and by the way, I've coached with some of the best online marketers in the world. I've studied online marketing for over a decade now. I've invested over $100,000 in my own personal training on online marketing. And what I've learned is that when you add more value than you try to sell, your customers will appreciate that and they will pay higher levels of attention to you. They'll engage with you more often. They'll look forward to getting your phone call. They'll look forward to getting your emails. They'll look forward to, to staying in touch with you and you staying in touch with them. So don't only communicate with your clients when you need to ask them for something. In fact, we recommend a 3-to-1 ratio. So for every promotion that you do, which I do 3 a year, by the way, I do a spring promotion, I do an end of summer promotion, I do a holiday promotion every year. Those are my big sales that are strategically positioned in my calendar all year long, right? And I do an average of about 50 to 100 grand in sales every time I run one of those sales. So throughout the year, it could be a couple $100,000 I write up just in phone orders because I've built up my database and I've followed these things I'm teaching you. And I have over 10,000 clients now that I've brought on over the last 20 years. And so if you send them an email and you call them and you send them a letter or a postcard, and every time that you're touching base, it's because you want to see if they want to buy something, then they'll eventually stop opening your emails, stop looking at your text messages, stop taking your calls, and your letter will go straight into the trash every year. So consistent, quality, value-added communication, that's what increases clients' attention. Offering and following through on providing service, that's what deepens clients' loyalty. So always letting your clients know that if you could ever be of service, you're always available for them. They just have to reach out and let you know. And then you provide that service in a timely manner, they become loyal at a much deeper level. And you don't expect everything to lead to a sale right away. Sometimes it is impressing them with the service that you provide that leads to the bigger sale for you later. So remember that, right? Don't only do it if there's something in it for you. Do it because you want to be of service to the client first. And then you trust that because you're playing the long game, eventually that will come back to you in terms of CPO and commissions down the road. By the way, even though most of the communications that we send are not sales related, almost all of the communications I send out lead to some sales. I sent out an email newsletter today that had a recipe in it and a featured knife of the month that taught them how to use that knife. And I've already got 5 people that have replied to me saying, hey, I have a question because I need a wedding gift, or I want to get a Mother's Day gift, or someone recommended me to you and I'm interested in buying a set of knives. So almost every communication I send comes back to and leads to sales, but it's not something I expect from every communication that I send. And doing all of these things is what makes it so that when you do promote a sale, whether it's for a push or the end of the year or a seasonal promotion that you're doing or whatever, when you do that, you get big results because what happens is the law of reciprocity kicks in. So I did this stuff myself for years. I designed my own emails. I got to be honest, I wasn't very good at it. I really kind of sucked, actually. I'm not a designer. I'm not like I'm not a good writer or any of those sorts of things. So, I felt like I was always under pressure, deadlines, getting my communications, written and designed and scheduled and then sent out and then replying to everybody, all while trying to run my own business. So that's why I decided to invest in letting a professional company like Vast Action do it for me. Full disclosure, as an owner, of Vast Action, but, I believe 100% in what they do because I've seen the impact it's had for hundreds of people across the nation, not just my own personal business. So the CRM is what helped me win my first silver cup because I got organized and I could access customer information from the front seat of my car 24/7. But then the marketing services, they're the number one reason that my clients consistently started paying attention to and engaging with my emails, my texts, my phone calls, the postcards, the letters, and the catalogs, and all the other marketing that we do, like thank you cards and, gold client gifts and things like that. So I suggest that you invest in help from the professionals. Whoever you choose to use, I believe Vast Action is the best and most cost effective. And we get the highest level of feedback from anyone, but our team would be more than happy to send you a menu of our services and information on what we do and what it costs and all that for both the CRM and the marketing side of things. So if you just simply text our office line, right now I just put it on the screen. You can text your name, your email address, and the word marketing to the number on the screen. And if you send that text message, our team will actually send you some more information on Vast Action and our services. And if you have questions or it's something you want to save for the future and consider for your business down the road, that's fine. If you have questions that you want to ask right now, that's fine too. They'll let you know what the best next steps will be once you've had a chance to view that info. So feel free to text your name and address. CRM pricing starts at like $20 a month, $19.99 a month. Marketing, emails and stuff like that start at $49 and go up from there. So anyways, before we move into the wrap up, I have a couple questions for you. I'm just curious, what results are you currently getting with your current clients? Do you get any past customer sales? Do you get some? Do you get a ton? Whether you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced, based on your number of years in the business and your number of clients, where do you feel you should be with your past customer sales right now? And I want you to write down the number one thing that you heard me discuss today with you that you feel you need to level up with. Write it down along with the first 2 to 3 steps that you need to take right now to get moving in the right direction. Because to wrap this thing up, when you get to know your clients, when you take great notes on your clients, when you use an organized and systemized approach to managing your book of business, aka your database, and you consistently communicate in a quality, value-added way, which values just entertainment, education, sharing an update or making a personal connection or sharing appreciation. That's what value added means. You're entertaining them, you're educating them, you're sharing an update so they feel connected to you personally, or you're sharing appreciation with them so they feel good themselves, right? And you do this year after year after year. Every year, your past customer loyalty will go deeper and your sales will build when you're doing these things. So get all of the important info from any of your new customers. If you haven't done this with your clients up to this point, don't worry. As you begin following up with past customers to check in and see how their products are doing and provide service for them, you can get that information then and there and keep it from that point forward. It's well known in business that it's way more work and it costs way more money to get new customers than it costs to keep and earn repeat business from your current customers. So let's get out there and work hard and not only get new clients and continue building our businesses, but also earn loyalty from those clients and build an army of repeat buyers. Because when you treat your customers like they're valuable, like they have future value, then they'll become even more valuable to you over time. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.